Hey guys, welcome. Hat Tuesday, number 36. Hat Tuesday, number 36. Hopefully, you guys are having a fine start to your week. The weather's getting warmer here out in the DC metro area. Hopefully, it's getting a little warmer and, well, not too warm, right? I think we've been touching 90 degrees. So, yeah, it's been getting a little unbearable, to be honest. Makes walking a little bit more treacherous. Got to stay hydrated. Already got a guest in the stage. Let's welcome in Robert. Robert, how you doing, my friend?
I'm well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How's the weather by your way?
Uh, it's the last few days have been spring-like, so
Okay.
it might be here. They've been
Yeah.
teasing us for a while, and then the gray skies and rain come back. But I don't know. It just might be springtime.
Understood, understood. Yeah, we're getting I think we had more spring-like weather earlier in the week, but now we're getting into like some 90-degree weather,
Oh,
Fahrenheit. So yeah, now it's getting a little bit more as we approach Memorial Day, which is traditionally when a lot of the pools open up out in this area. So yeah, it's now past the good weather, I call it, the spring, which makes walking a lot more palatable. Now it's getting into like, I got to stay hydrated.
high humidity.
High humidity. Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things where the temperature is one way. How you doing, Paul?
Morning, Paul.
Yeah, it's just something where the humidity is just making it a lot more, I guess, dangerous and a little bit more need for hydration. So, yeah. And Nathan's here. Nathan says it's in the 90s and in the Carolinas out by his way. So yeah, that's really close to us. And yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm like, it's not my favorite.
And it lasts through till September.
Pretty much, yeah, yeah. I mean, we're pretty temperate here in the Mid-Atlantic, but yeah, I think again, it's one of those things where the weather here is so like, I don't know, bipolar. I wouldn't be surprised if we get another cold spell at some point
Uh,
before we get into summer. But it's just, it's the weather being weather, right?
yeah.
But Paul, how you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yeah, I've been busy with work and with making hats,
Yeah,
and I think I've got I had six on the go at the weekend, and
yeah,
I've finished two of them, and sending two out tomorrow, so that's good, and one's the infamous one behind me for Nathan.
the
So
infamous.
that's well, I love him. He's got some great ideas, and we play around with them, so that's fun.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think it's been unusually cold over here in the UK, and my wife and I have been sat, yeah, have been sat in and just a bit chilly. It's supposed to be
yeah,
warm over here this time of year, but it really doesn't know what it's doing. In fact, it's raining at the moment outside, so hey
yeah,
ho, typical Brit, I suppose.
When we were in Scotland, we were in Ayr, and I guess that was early April, and it would drop to zero
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
evenings, and it was bloody cold.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Welcome to the UK, Robert. Yeah,
And then when you tack the wind on top of that, it was like we spent more time inside than we intended to.
yeah.
yeah,
Such a shame.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And in
But
December, I experienced the opposite, meaning it was a lot warmer in London than it was back in the DC metro area. So it was a nice change of pace. Even though, like I said, you still had like the overcast weather, it was still at least 20 degrees warmer.
yeah,
So I was happy to have that change.
yeah. Can I just give a little bit of an update, Luke?
Sure.
Don't know whether you remember, Robert, but and Luke, but going back a couple of times ago when I was on here, there was a young lady that had contacted me called Catherine, who had also been in touch with Robert, and Robert and I saw that she was having some issues with some part, I've forgotten what it was now, of making hats, and I
Yeah.
reached out to her, and I've had a couple of Zoom calls with her. She's actually bought and she's done your course, Robert, and she's also um, she's now staying in touch. And in fact, what we did was we said, right, I'll tell you what, I'll make you a hat and you make me a hat. So I've just finished making her an open road is what she wanted, and because she's seen my open roads, and I thought, yeah, okay, I'll do that. So a 4X open road in silver belly is on its way to her now, and she's doing. In fact, I don't know. I think it's a festival hat or something. I'm not sure for me.
Yeah.
And then I said, right, what we'll do then is we'll have a Zoom call and we'll go through the different elements. So if we're looking at the brim trim, we'll look at how she's done it versus how I've done it, and you know, we can talk about the options. There's no right and wrong way. I guess it's whatever equipment you've got and what you're comfortable with. But you know, she has gone out there and she's bought a proper professional antique hat stretcher since speaking with her. You know, one of the big ones where you've got the turning device, rather than the little hat jack ones. So I'm really pleased that she's able to then do half sizes in between the blocks, and she's buying her felts from FEPSA, which is good, yeah, so all in all, you know, I think we'll stay in touch, her and I, and I've said, look, I'm more than happy to help out if you've got any queries or want to actually join in on this group at any point. So thanks for letting me give you that bit of an update. It just goes to show that what we're doing is actually having a positive effect.
Yeah, I love that. I love to see the collaboration, and obviously those are things. Obviously, Robert has talked about, like the problem solving. You know, sometimes, right, like two problem solvers tackling these things together can sometimes lead to some innovation. You know, and I'd love to see that, because, you know, we talked about the idea that, you know, some folks are a little bit more secretive, right? They don't want to reveal the trade secrets, and we don't begrudge them for it, but it does keep some of that collaborative spirit, you know, a little locked up. But it's nice to see other folks, you know, kind of eschewing that and then sharing, because I think that's the benefit of having this small circle, is that you can get some of that exchange of ideas. So yeah, that's a great story.
It's somewhat related, Paul. A fellow, he took my course, and I include my email address so that they can, because questions are bound to arise, so they get to shoot me an email directly. And so I've been in touch with this one young fellow, and so I struck him a deal where, because I posted about, like, if you want to be a hat maker, unless you know hats, how do you develop a standard?
Yeah.
And a lot of young hat makers, they're not hat people per se. They love hats, but they don't know hats. They don't own a custom hat, or they don't even own a good off-the-shelf hat. So they have no standard. They're kind of working in the dark. So I made them a deal. I said, you make me a hat, I'll pay you for the raw material. You make me the hat, ship it to me, and then we'll do a Zoom call, and I'll walk you through giving you a critique of your work.
Yeah.
So this goes back to, I think it was like the end of last year, and we're still in the process. He declined to. He said no. He says I'll just make you a hat. You don't have to pay me for the raw materials.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, because the first two felts that he's worked on, he's ruined them.
Right.
And so now he's starting all over again with a third felt. So if I live long enough, I might receive a hat.
I love it.
I love it. It's so easy to make a small mistake. I mean, yesterday when I was working on the open road, it was a 4X, and I just got this newfangled DeWalt electric sander to sand, and I just went a little bit too far on one of the sides and exposed some of the shellac. So then you're into, you know, spraying it and working it out with a brush and all that sort of thing. So you've got to be so careful. You know, it's not it's experience, isn't it, more than anything? I guess working with these felts, and the worst thing really is when you have a disaster or a problem when you're working on the much more expensive felts. It's just
Right.
you know, us men getting a bit older, our hearts can't take it.
Yeah, that's right. You see that wasted material, but again, it all depends, I think, on how far that it goes. But yeah, I gotta imagine you don't want to waste the that kind of valuable fabric, right? It's one of those things with the materials. It's like
it will test your resolve. It will test your commitment.
Yeah.
I guess it was just before I went away to Scotland, but I ruined a $400 Canadian FEPS 100% beaver.
Wow.
I flashed off some of the dye.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm going to turn it into a tuxedo hat and get my money back. But it's like in the moment.
Yeah. It's like I've got a few of those, Robert. They didn't start out that way, but they ended that way. And they're good hats.
The war stories. Well, gentlemen, we got a great topic here. And again, one that I definitely just like the last several, it seems like I don't think I have enough expertise, but the nice thing is, together, and who knows, maybe we come up with more questions than answers, which is never a bad thing. But the Panama hat, it's one of those hats, again, very iconic. And I'm sure for the obvious reason, I'm thinking of why the Panama, because I think that's one of the questions that folks, one that I asked myself, why is this hat as iconic as it is? And I'll open that up, for you guys, in terms of why, why the Panama?
I think it because there's no shortage of selection of straws out there. There's I've got a box full of different types of straws.
Yeah.
And my take on it is the Panama, it looks good.
Yes.
It's very refined. It finishes up so nicely. Because it's hand woven, it's like it's a true craft. So it has that mystique to it.
Yeah.
But also it's so damn practical because it's I have a selection of different straws, and in hot weather you can't beat a Panama hat.
Yeah,
it just works.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great point. Paul, you were going to say?
I think for me, I remember as a child watching programs about the pyramids on the television and watching a lot of the great, and they tended to be British, I'm afraid, explorers going out and looking around the pyramids, and they all wore Panamas. And I looked at them and I thought, you know what, that is both smart but also very, very practical. And of course they were just wide brimmed, generally the white color, and they folded up and rolled into a cylindrical container. And you as a child, I just it knocked me for sideways. And I just thought at some stage or another I'd love to own something like that, because it just epitomized smart, with a suit or with any form of clothing, and that you wanted to wear it with. The materials is an interesting one, because as I got older, I then started looking at them and realized that a straw hat that you get from a high street, an average high street shop, is very different to one that's a very expensive hat. And it's when you look at those beautiful weaves. And Luke, when you were in London, we know we've spoken about it a few times now. We went and saw some beautiful weaves in Bates and Co. in their hat shop, and no doubt Lock and Co had some as well, but it was the wrong time of year. But certainly Bates were really pleased to show us, and the amazing work that was in there. But I've had a Lock and Co hat that I bought secondhand before, and they don't tend to last that long. And what I don't know, and maybe Robert, you could help here, is that how long does the straw last? Because it became very brittle, this hat, even though I entered steam onto it, and I tried to put other things on it, but it became very brittle. And I thought, this is probably not going to last as long as I'd hoped. And when I looked it up, it was about an £1,800 hat, and I think I ended up selling it for next to nothing. Not that I'd paid a great deal for it, but it was just such a shame that somebody somewhere had either done a deal and got a good price on this hat, or they'd lost a lot of money. They'd invested in the hat and worn it, no doubt, and so on. But it didn't look as though it had a hard life, but it was just showing signs of wear.
I think my oldest Panama is 20 years old.
Yeah.
And I mean, what you say, Paul, is bang on. They do dry out, they do brittleize, and you can extend their life by I read a story about a guy who just made a point of bringing his Panama hat into the bathroom with him on shower days.
Yeah.
And reinvigorated it. But they do, and I think it's just the nature of the beast, because the straw does break down.
Yeah.
I do repair them, and it's similar to a felt hat, only the Panama certainly is more fragile, but it's that handling them at the pinch. That's the weak spot in a Panama hat. That's any repairs I've done, that's the spot.
Yeah.
And when I'm making them now, there's a way. It's like if you're looking at a good Panama hat, they reinforce that on the underside.
Yeah, they put a sort of glue in there, or a fitment in the more expensive ones, I've noticed nowadays, Robert. So I guess that's what you're referring to.
Yeah.
I
mean, that will extend the life, as well as just being really disciplined in not grabbing it by the pinch. Because as I said, any repair I've done on a Panama hat, it's been there, not it doesn't wear out anywhere else.
Right.
Yeah. So when I was thinking about this program, and I don't know a great deal about Panamas and things, but I had thought about making a hat for myself for the summer, and I made the I'll lift it, I'll get it, the lightweight sort of Johnny Depp style, and it's I think it's about 100-gram weight, and it was very much thinking that Robert had said to me that he'd made a number of hats in 100 to 120 grams, and I just figured that would this be an option as a summer hat with maybe some ventilated holes in the side and no liner? But I don't know what moving forward, whether this would be more robust than a straw, and whether it would actually be too hot still to wear.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know the answer, because I just like having an option, and living where I do. Our straw season is essentially July and August.
Right.
So I get to wear my felts 10 months of the year. So I really look forward to July and August when I can pull out my Panamas, and it's like, because
and I'm sure, like I said, depending on what region you live in, a Panama might be the opposite, right? You may not, or you may not have an opportunity really to wear a whole lot of felt.
I've got customers down in Texas, and it's like they complain that their felt season is way too short.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. I think over in the UK here, we're a bit like yourself, Robert. I think we could get away with wearing felt for probably 10.5 to 11 months of the year, but it would be nice to wear a straw hat for maybe 3 months. But you could wear a lightweight felt. It's just what your preferences are. But we don't. The problem we're having is that I think more and more people are realizing that the sun can be quite damaging, and we've not really taken that seriously over here. The Australians do, and I think the Americans do, but we don't tend to do that. And I think, unfortunately, people are going to find they're going to have problems with their skin, as I did, and we'll need to cover up, and then that will, I hope, drive the marketplace towards deciding what it wants, and therefore what we can supply.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because my demographic um, tends to be sort of men 50 and up that have the discretionary income, and I've sold a lot of hats to men who came to see me under doctor's orders.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, either
Yeah. Yeah.
they have suspicious lesions or like
Yeah.
precancerous, and so they
Yeah.
they get
Yeah.
the lecture from the doctor, and it's like, and they
Mm.
show up in my shop. I
Yeah.
need a hat,
Yeah.
which is commendable because they could go to Costco and get a $20 Tilly.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
admire them for being willing to upgrade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it comes down to what your budget will allow, but also what sort of style you adopt as you get older. And I guess I've always been a bit rebellious and not conformed to the norm,
Yeah.
and like to wear something that looks good, And let's be honest, I don't think we have many hats that don't look good on us guys, do we?
I've never met one. Oh, except for a pork pie. I
Huh?
love the pork pie.
Yeah.
You put it on my head, and in my view, I look ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm no Popeye Doyle, with the pork pie or even Heisenberg. I do love them. Yeah, I do love them, and I know that they have a place. So if I find one, I'm like, all right, I'll take it with me. But it's not something that I'm like, and I've even gotten the feedback. It's like, well, that was not your best look. But hey, you know what? It is what it is. Nathan here says, I'll be 50 in 2 years. Will my hat purchase increase? I think if you keep coming on the show, your hat purchases are gonna you now have a hatter that's the same head size as you. So yes, I'm gonna go. My money says yes. It definitely will increase, knowing what I know about you, Nathan.
I think we'll be talking about franchising a hat shop in America or something.
Yeah,
it'll be something along those lines. Because if you actually pooled the amount of hats that Robert's got, I've got, and Nathan's got, we've probably got enough. Oh, and you, Luke. Sorry, we've probably got enough to open a hat shop, guys.
Yeah, we got some inventory for sure. And then Nathan asked a great question here. Now it's probably jumping a little forward, but in terms of how does Panama feel versus hemp, and I'm assuming you mean the material, because it's Robert explained it during in some of his notes, and maybe I'll let Robert kind of talk about that in terms of like the material used for a proper Panama hat.
Yeah, I think it's a great time, because I think what we should do, for the sake of your listeners, is actually to let them know, like, what is a Panama hat,
right?
Just so, because a Panama hat is something that's very specific, that separates it from the other hundreds of different types of straw hats that are out there.
Yeah.
And it's a Panama hat. It's hand woven, in a variety of styles, but it's made from the fibers from the toquillo palm.
Yeah.
And they're stripped, they're processed, they're washed, they're bleached to a certain degree, and stripped into small fibers, and somebody actually sits down and weaves it into a rough hat shape, which I get them from a distributor, and they look very much like the felt cape lines I get from the felting factory. They do look like a hat, but then my job is to, same as I would do with a felt, is block it into the right size, into the customer's desired shape, and trim it. But it's the fact that it's hand woven, and it has to be from the toquillo palm, and rather than being from Panama, it comes from Ecuador.
Yeah,
they're hand woven in it, and there's two main centers. There's one in Cuenca, and then there's the other, which probably a lot of people have heard of, is Montecristi, and they're two locales. And in a general sense, Montecristi woven hats are held in higher regard than the Cuenca.
Right.
And you can tell the difference by the weave pattern. And if you go online, you can see pictures that show you the different weave patterns. And the Monte Cristo weave is it's generally it's more complicated. It's done more in a swirl than concentric lines. And the weavers, for the most part, are contract workers. They work in the village, and then they sell their hats to a distributor, and that's who I buy from. And he has his stable of contract workers. I would imagine some of the like Brent Black or some of the bigger Panama hat sellers have maybe the workers work directly for them because they've got enough volume. But for the most part, they're contract workers. And based on what I pay, which includes, I'm fairly certain, is a healthy markup put on by the distributor.
Right.
These weavers are not making a lot of money.
Right.
It's
it
just makes me wonder how long the craft will stay.
That's a great point. I mean, when you hear the term hand woven, it's like you don't even think there's like anything done like that anymore, to be sold. And again, given the way the industrialization process that we've seen throughout, I just don't see that continuing to happen. And I know a lot of manufacturers do. From what I understand, Borsellino contracts out their Panama straws, and I don't know who that is. I have heard a couple of them, but I don't remember who exactly does that. So it makes sense. I mean, in terms of that definition, that you may have a Panama style hat, maybe not a Panama hat. You might have a Panama styled hat, which is, not a bad thing. I think, again, for me, to kind of reiterate, the combination of the weather, for some warm weather, as well as the kind of fedora style shape, right? Those two things in combination are probably what makes the Panama hat so iconic. Now, again, I don't know how Toquillo straw feels, versus something made out of hemp. To kind of get back to Nathan's question, I don't know if does anybody have response for that.
Yeah. In my opinion, the Toquillo straw is it makes for a finely woven hat.
Yeah.
So that even the lower grades, it's still a lightweight hat. Whereas when you get up into the hemp or the raffia, or another popular one is the sunbody hats, which are palm leaves. And they're all much heavier and much hotter.
Right.
So the Panama my tests haven't been exhaustive, but in my the Panama hat is the coolest looking, but it's also the coolest wearing.
Right.
I think the Stetson Open Road in a hemp has become quite a popular hat at the moment. From what I've seen in America, as well as a few of my clients have got them in the UK and they bought them from America and want them resized and things. And I think the hemp definitely is a thicker material than the fine Monte Cristo, and straws. And it is a different type of hat, to be fair. But it's whatever floats your boat. It would be lovely to have one of each or several of each. But they're out there for choice.
I've never seen any videos on like how Stetson would make a hemp hat, but at the price point they're selling them at, they're a machine woven hat. They're not hand woven.
Right.
And they appeared like they're treated with something, that it's hard to tell a hemp hat, the difference between that of a Toyo or a Shantung.
Right.
paper straw, so I'm sure that they're machine made, machine stamped, as opposed to the panache of a Panama hat that still is actually 100% made by a human being's hand.
Yeah. Is it safe to say, like, the lacquer, would it be lacquer that's typically that you're seeing? Because I know in terms of my research, they've mentioned in terms of like a lot more of the lower quality. Sometimes the attempt to cover that up is to kind of just surround it with lacquer. And I just don't know enough about that process to be able to opine too much other than that.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah.
But I think, whereas the hemp hat, I don't know, you can pick them up for what, 100 and a quarter.
Yeah.
So essentially at that price point, it's kind of almost like it's a throwaway.
It's a one season throwaway, isn't it? Really. Right. But it's still an investment. I know. I made this about 2 years ago, and I used shellac on it to stiffen it. So, it still seems to be fine. But I think the thing is that there's nothing better than a Panama and the finesse of the straw when you get a lovely one, and you wouldn't even know you've got it on your head. But then if you're wearing it for a practical reason to actually protect you against the sun, then there are other choices out there that are more within a budget, let's say, for people that can widen their choice. So I guess it's a fashion choice, it's a monetary budgetary choice, but if you can, try and own one in your life, because it just makes you feel $1 million when you've got one on.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, we mentioned the Bates & Co., and that was called the Ultra Fino. And I don't know, I think in terms of, there might be a couple different ways to because I've seen different numbers thrown around in terms of weaves per inch. But that is at the super high end of weaves per inch. And having felt that in my hand, I can attest to the fact that it was like nothing, and for the brief period, because I didn't want it in my hand too long, not at 30,000 pounds.
I think if you go on the Brent Black site, I think his top end hats approach like $25,000.
Yeah.
And at that level, you're getting a weave that I've never seen one. But at that level, apparently the weave is so fine, the hat appears to be made from like a fine Irish linen.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a good description, actually. Yeah.
And you can pay up to $50,000 for one that's considered museum quality.
Yeah.
Now,
and just to clarify for the listeners, it can take a weaver. We were told a year or so to make these hats, weren't we, Luke?
Wow.
To make one hat.
Yeah.
I just can't get my mind around that you would get up every day for a year and work on one hat.
Yeah.
I just think it's a labor of love, which we're clearly not rewarding those weavers enough.
Right. Yeah. And the way I understand it, there are 5 grades overall. I think that's a general standard. Obviously something like that, you'd probably be thinking that's a grade 5. But what can we opine in terms of like the grades?
Essentially, every company, like the name grades are purely subjective. There's no standard to which you can apply. So it's like you have the sub fino, the fino, the fino, the super fino, and to each seller that has different meaning in terms of the weave count.
Yeah.
And the weave count can be either a linear measure, just weaves per inch, or they'll give it as a per square inch. And that's the only real way of knowing.
Yeah.
If you buy a fino, there's sort of there's a range to which that applies, but it might mean a different thing from seller A and seller B.
Yeah. And thank goodness. I mean, that there are varieties. That way, not everybody that has the coin for something that at the super high end. It just reminds me of like the X system that we talk about with the felts, and how that kind of has taken a different turn. But luckily, in terms of the weave count, at least that provides a little bit more of a I guess objective standard to kind of judge the various the counts. So.
Yeah. And the other aspect, if you're about to purchase one, is the weave count is one metric, but the other then is what is the quality of the weave.
Right.
It's not purely a count per inch, because
excuse me,
like is the weave even? Are the
right?
There can be variances in the actual fibers. So you've got like a thin line of fiber, and then you've got a fatter one, and so the overall quality, it's much coarser looking than
right.
when all of the fibers are of the same width, and the weave is of the same tightness, the same tension all the way through. So
yeah,
it's much more difficult to buy one online, because you're taking the trusting the seller that that they do their quality control and are selling, you're going to receive a good product, because you can't can't discern it. That's why it's if you buy it in person, you can actually have a look at the quality of it and discern any flaws in it.
Yeah, I saw a YouTube video that showed in terms of like the consistency of the weave throughout, and that being an indicator of some of the quality. And obviously that some folks will kind of just put that into like the Cuenca versus the Montecristi, but more often in terms of like you're seeing that if you're able to shine a light, it looks like you're able to tell kind of whether that pattern switches up or not. And the way I understand is the more uniformity you see, that's kind of an indicator of the quality of that.
Yeah.
Interesting. And Nathan asks, Robert, what grade weave count is the Panama you're building for me?
It's my distributor doesn't use the names. He just goes, and they sell grade 1 through grade 5.
I see.
And I've settled on grade 2.
Yeah.
Because I brought in, when I started my first order, I brought in grades 1 through 4, just so I could inspect the quality. And the grade 1s are too coarse, but they make for a great hat for women. I brought in quite wide brims, and they're a perfect sort of fashion sun hat for women, because they're I forget what I paid, but they're like under $50. And what I've done is I've settled on grade 2, because I think that it represents the best price versus quality.
Yeah.
It's the grade 2s are between 12 and 15 weaves per inch. The grade 3s are 15 to 18. And then I forget the grade 4s. But the price almost, between grade 2 and grade 3, the price almost doubles.
Yeah.
And I think the grade 2, well, the other thing for me is, if I spend too much money on a hat, I'm going to baby it.
Right.
Which means I might hesitate to wear it.
Right.
If the weather, if the weather's a little iffy, or depending on the wear, if I've got $1,000 hat, I'm going to baby it. It's just, I do that with my felt hats too. And I don't necessarily like that. It's what I do, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
So if I'm spending $250 on a grade 2 hat, I'm going to wear it, and if I get a decade's wear out of it and I've worn it out, I can throw it away with a clear conscience because I've got my money's worth out of it.
Right.
So that's the other reason I've settled on the grade 2, because I think it makes a really nice hat. It it passes the 6-foot test.
Yeah.
Because from 6 feet away, it looks like a nice hat. And I would dare anyone, to at the 6-foot distance to tell me the difference between a grade 2 and a grade 5.
Right.
You trim it with a nice ribbon or a leather band. From 6 feet away, you cannot tell the difference.
Yeah.
And at $250, I'm going to wear the hat. At $1,000, I'm going to baby it.
And one of the things that, because a lot of our discussion has been about getting used deals. This has been something that I've been talked about on the Fedora Lounge, and you see a lot more folks endorsing the idea that it's hard to kind of get a good deal on the used market. I mean, you're a little bit more pressed to find something that hasn't been completely torn up and is in good enough shape. With any of the straws, let alone just the Panamas. So yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, it doesn't mean that it's not out there, but you're going to be less likely. So you're probably going to have to go new. And if you're going to wear it, I think I'm in the same boat. I'm like, I don't really want to be in a position to baby any of the hats. I want to wear them. So if I can get a decent enough deal and a good compromise between quality and price, then I'm going to be the one that jumps over that as well.
Yeah.
Nathan says, honestly, I think the average population would know Panama versus paper straw from 6 feet away.
That's probably accurate.
Yeah. And I was like, he said wouldn't know the difference. Oh. Yeah. In terms of other features, we talked about the ribbon, versus like the sweatbands. I mean, the way I understand it, most of the Panamas that I've seen don't have a leather sweatband, but the ones that I have seen are just amazing. And I'm assuming that you tend to see those more on the Monte Cristi side. But do we know anything about that?
I guess it was on I forget which online forum it was, but I'm a fan of leather.
Yeah.
And I think a quality hat should have a quality leather sweatband.
Yeah.
But when I articulated that, I got a huge amount of pushback. In specifically referring to, Panama hats.
Yeah.
And that apparently a lot of higher quality Panama hats have cloth sweatbands.
Yeah. Or no sweatband at all. I think some don't have any sweatband.
I've never seen any without a sweatband, because they would tend to stain really badly, really quickly.
Gotcha.
I mean, I know on the ladies' hats in the UK, we put either grosgrain or this elasticated hat and in there. But I'm with you, Robert. I'm afraid I prefer leather, even on summer hats. I mean, and I'll tell you, I went for the 2-inch wide leather because in the UK we're very into the 1.5-inch wide, and when you've got a deep head. I've got quite a deep head, I think, from where my the crown breaks with the brim and up. So of course, if I get a 2-inch in there, it's going to protect the perspiration from going through to the hat more, to the felt. And I've got, my clients seem to prefer that. Now they know that's the reason why I go with a 2-inch sweatband,
Yeah. And it's going to add some heft, but it looks so darn good.
And at the same time, I've never owned one, but if you look at Borsalino Panama hats, they often have a cloth sweat.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the Borsalino Panama is at a mid to high price point. So it's not necessarily completely indicative of a poorer quality hat.
No,
because there was lots of pushback that I got of people said no. In all of my Panama hats, I have cloth sweats because I prefer them.
Right.
So it's like,
yeah.
I've got a cloth sweat on a Borsellino roll-up fedora, which they sell a range of fedoras in different colors. Luke, you may well have seen it, and you can literally, take it off, fold it in half, roll it, and part of the band actually unclips, and then you clip it around the hat, and then you clip it back in. There's actually a popper on there. It's very good because you wouldn't know it's there unless you knew it was there,
Yeah.
And that's got a sort of grosgrain sweatband in
it. It's interesting. The other around trim, I think they've upped their game, but I don't know. But a number of years ago, I bought a Panama from Panama Hats Direct. Just to see, because I wanted to survey the market to see what's out there at what price, and it wasn't a great hat, and it was the ribbon and the bow were put together with staples, and then the ribbon was glued to the crown.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's like, I mean, it's like, dear God, we're talking, it's so shoddy. And then the sweatband was like a really cheap piece of poly cotton.
Right.
And I think it was his version. It was a Fino, and I think I paid $250 for it. And it was like, and the hat had been stiffened, so it was almost like a shantung. And it was, oh dear God, it was. But I think, as I said, I think he's upped his game since then. I would hope. But those are the things you need to be aware of, because not all Panama hats are created equally.
Yeah.
Even if the weave count and the weave quality is good, ask questions about what kind of ribbon do you how is the ribbon attached? All those things.
One thing you had, Robert, was that some weavers are not even based in Ecuador, which is not a problem as long as that's up front. I think
I haven't come across it, but I've read about that. I guess like anything, there's fakes, and I don't know. I guess because you can buy a legit Panama hat, like a blank, for so little money. I'm not sure. Like, are the weavers in? I've heard of them coming from Peru, for instance, and then some from Colombia.
Right.
And it's like, are the weavers there going to work for that much cheaper to make that much of a difference? So the economics of it don't make sense necessarily. But I think the other more common fraudulent claim is selling Cuenca weaves as Monte Cristi.
Monte Cristi, yeah.
And there's ways around that, because the Monte Cristi weave is very identifiable, and you can go online and see the difference. But there is I deal with I don't buy their straws, but there's a Superior hat. They're based in Colombia.
Yeah.
And they're selling a tequila straw woven in Colombia.
Yeah.
But they're upfront about it.
Right. In which case,
the price is about the same. So there's no advantage. It's just whether you. I was thinking of buying some from them just out of curiosity, but I haven't gotten into it.
Yeah. Now, what about color options? Because I know, I know I've seen various different things. Is there anything in particular in terms of your color options when dealing with like tequila straw?
With the men's Panama, there's a range from it's called natural, and it's a very, very I don't know, it's kind of like it doesn't show up, but like a manila file folder.
Yeah.
kind of that color. That's natural. All fibers have been bleached to a certain degree.
Yeah.
And so you've got this, which is called a natural, and then you've got the stark white.
Right.
And those are kind of the two options.
Yeah.
For
yeah.
men.
Nathan's asking, I'm assuming the color is just a dye. Is there any quality difference?
I've only ever, like with those two, there's no dye. It's just the raw straw, and it's just a question of to what degree have they been bleached. I've only ever brought in the grade ones in colors for my ladies' sun hats, and I'm what I'm not sure is like they're dyed. The dye is absolutely fast. There's no bleed at all.
Right.
Like during the steaming and the ironing, there's like no bleed whatsoever. So what I'm not sure of is whether they dye. Do they dye the individual fibers, or do they make the hat and then dye it?
Right.
That I don't know, but I do trust the dye because I've had no problems, and you can get like an absolute choice of like a rainbow of colors.
Yeah, correct. And Josh mentioned he's got a Visca straw and found it was basically just plastic. That's my assumption with this cheapo. Remember I talked about this cheap straw hat I bought in Croatia for just a few euro. I couldn't expect this to become anything more than a piece of plastic, and it feels very plasticky. And again, it's a price point. You know, I bought this. It was the one that started it all, but you know,
what it is likely it's like there's two, and as far as I know, they're interchangeable. There's Toyo straw, and Shantung, and a lot of the Stetson straw hats, or the Western style straw hats, they're either Toyo or Shantung, which is actually it's a paper straw. It's rice paper.
Okay. Yeah.
And then, of course, being paper, it has to be coated, or the first rainfall, the hat's going to melt on you.
Right.
So it's essentially it's a paper straw coated in some some polymer, I would imagine.
Yeah. And here's a question here for in terms of like advice for hatters.
One thing,
Robert.
One thing I want to add, because I brought in some from China. I brought in a selection of different straws. I have raffia, seagrass. I can't remember. I brought in half a dozen different types, and within that there was some Toyo or Shantung blanks, and out of China, $5. So where I'm paying $100 for a decent quality Panama, the Toyo out of China, $5.
Yeah. And if it's going to be disposable, I mean, hey. Nathan talks the brim edge. Talk about the binding, folding, and other options for the brim edge for straw.
Okay, this is so. Nathan is a test case, because we're going to start tomorrow on it, Nathan.
I love it.
This will be the first Panama where I've bound the edge.
Yeah.
And on the Custom Hat Makers Facebook page, maybe if it was last year or maybe a couple of years ago, I bring in two types of blanks. One is a fedora styling, which will give me, depending on the hat size, will give me like a 2.5, 2 3/4 inch brim, like a fedora proportions. And then the other is a much wider, and it'll give me a more Western vibe sun hat with like up to a 3.5 inch brim. And all Panamas have a nicely finished edge. It's woven and then welted. And I discovered in a discussion on the Custom Hat Makers page to cut the brim is akin. It's Hatter's blasphemy.
Blasphemy.
Because you're taking this brim edge that some Ecuadorian has taken great pains to weave it and finish it off.
Yeah.
And here I come along with my rounding jack and I cut it off.
Right.
It's like, well, apparently that's frowned upon in some circles.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm pretty confident because we did a test strip on it. I'm confident that it's gonna, and if it doesn't turn out, Nathan, it's my experiment, not yours. But you can see with just those two styles, I'm locked into that which I can offer.
Yeah.
You either get a fedora or a sun hat, and as Nathan wants an open road, and in his size, I can't get him the 2 3/4 inch width. So my only option is to trim it and bind it, which is going to give it the open road traditional look, anyways.
Yeah.
But, anyways, I'm not sure I'll post the results on the custom.
I love it.
I'm not sure I want to take the pushback.
Nathan says, I test hats too much. Is like, we love it. Exactly. This is the kind of stuff that, again, when you get to see and enjoy on the channel, Nathan. So, we appreciate your creativity, and you're just having fun with this hobby, and you got folks like Robert who's made a few hats, trying out new things that can always lead to, you never know. You never know what it is. I wanted to discuss a little bit about like advice for hatters that, have thought about getting into making straw hats. And, we always talk about shortcutting their process. Robert, any lessons learned or advice that you would give for those hatters that want to dip their toes into making straw hats?
Yeah, this is my 8th year as a hat maker, and I love Panama, so I wanted to add that to my offering. But I was told from numerous sources that you can't do it properly without the preformed blocks.
Yeah.
And when I was starting out, it was so bloody expensive just to accumulate the open crown blocks that I thought, well, I'm not going down that rabbit hole because I can't afford to add, another 50 or 80 blocks. It's like, I don't. So I put the whole Panama thing aside.
Yeah.
And then I guess it was 4 years ago, I brought in, the itch was still there. So I thought, well, what the hell? And I brought in some Panama straws and started playing with it. And I discovered that it wasn't true. It wasn't correct that I could block a straw hat on an open crown, and much as the same as I would do with a felt, is I could crease it into a fedora styling.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to go down that road. So that emboldened me so I brought in stock, and so I would encourage a hatter. It's like, play with it, see if you can do it. It's not working with straw it's a different animal than felt. So there is a learning curve.
Mm.
After my first year of offering Panama hats, I decided that I wasn't going to do it anymore. It wasn't fun. It was just too much like work.
Yeah.
But I had stock left over into year 2, so I thought, well, what am I going to do with it? And then partly into the year, it started. It's like, oh, okay. I got past the hump of the learning curve.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this is okay. I can do this. It's not so frustrating.
Right.
So there is, just as a new hatter, accept that straw is different from felt, and you're going to have to go through another learning curve. But not having the preformed fedora blocks, it's not an impediment.
Right.
And then, but the one caveat, the one exception is, I did to do the telescope. it really, really helps to have the preformed telescope crown with the tipper.
Gotcha.
Because with that, it's so much easier with the preformed that you can steam the felt, and um, with the tipper and a weight, like it's just so much easier. But with the popularization of the 3D printed, I can get my preformed telescope crowns so much cheaper.
Yeah.
You know, so that it's like if I use it to make a couple of hats, I've got my money back.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. And then you got Josh here saying straw is a different beast. Can't force it to get into shape. Have to nudge it. Yeah, I mean, again, it's one of those things where, you know, you never know when innovation is going to come about. You know, you may get a customer like Nathan, and all of a sudden you start doing things that could be blasphemy. But hopefully a good, you know, a good kind of experience for everybody that's watching, right? You know, and yeah, Nathan asked, Paul, what has been your straw hat building experience so far?
It's been an interesting one because I looked into the UK market, and we are absolutely full of low-end straw hats. I guess you're the same in America, but because we have a very small window of time in terms of wearing it, you know, trying to get people in the UK to spend 150, 250 pounds on a straw hat is very challenging. And I made this one just on an open block. I think you can see I managed to get a reasonable sort of shape out of the hats. You know, I'm quite pleased with the look of it. And I bound the edge over the already trimmed edge that was on there, so I never cut it. You know, I've just not been able to get orders for it. I mean, I've tried with others as well, and I think, well, you know, that's fair enough. I think for the UK market, it's difficult, but actually making it was fine. I mean, I used some shellac to give it a little bit of stiffness and to finesse it a little bit. And I wouldn't be adverse to doing more, but I think there are so many good value hats out there at the price that is similar to what we end up building them for. That the balance is just, you know, I don't know. You know, would you rather have one handmade, or would you rather have one that's straight off the shelf? Depends which way you feel, I guess, with supporting the craft.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're just over an hour. I just want to make sure I keep, you know, I get everybody's input. Is there anything else we wanted to share before we close out the show?
Was one thing I wanted to say was that I've just bought this Borsellino hat, okay, for £10. Okay, I've just given it a bit of a brush up, and it's a Borsellino, and I think it's a mix of beaver and rabbit, and it looks like it's a religious hat. Okay, so my plan is to see if I can deconstruct it and actually reblock it into the sort of style of the hats that I like, which is the sort of high crown and bound edged and so on. So I'm going to try and go from this to this.
All right.
And let's see if it works, because if it works, it's a little bit of fun, but it will show people. But you know, it can be done.
I love it. Yeah, we'll have to find out. I love it. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. Hopefully, you guys at home enjoy the episode. I certainly learned a lot. I'm going to thank again Robert and Paul for joining me on screen. I'm thank Nathan and Josh for holding down the chat room there. And, you know, I'm going to say it again. I scroll down their information. You can find these gentlemen both on Facebook as well as Instagram. Support them. Support all the other fine folks in the Good Looks Network. Support all the fine hat folks outside the Good Looks Network. And regardless, no matter what you got to do, just one thing you got to make sure that you're always doing is you got to stay hatting, my friend. Have a great day. Ciao, everybody.
Ciao. Bye, Robert. Bye, Luke. Thanks.